Welcome to Theme Time Television. That's the theme song. So, as you know, I've started this show, and each week is going to have a different theme to it. Recap. Why? Because somebody wrote me a few years ago, sent me a website that they had created where they took famous reggae musicians, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, a few others, including my own songs, and they put biblical references to a number of their lyrics, including my own. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea, even though I didn't even know that there were some. But anyway, I started to put my songs together. I've got so many songs, and I started to collect them in order of the weekly Parsha readings of the Torah, the chapters of the Torah that are read each week. And I started to write new ones as well, based on the different themes each week, because it's quite interesting. Every week is a different concept, different theme. This week's theme is, it has to do with the service, I suppose. Service. We read last week about the priest and the special clothing that he wears, initiation of the priesthood. It says in a passage in there that these clothes are sacred clothes, or holy garments that the priests wear. And I read something by Rabbi Nachum Kahana, Meir Kahana's brother, Hashem Yikum Dumo. And he wrote that when he moved to Israel years ago, and he joined the army, and he put on that olive shirt, he felt like he was putting on the holy garments of the Kohen. Why? First of all, he's a Kohen. But because he felt all of the history of the Jewish people on this clothing. You know, so many thousands of people have given their lives, have shed their blood, protecting the Jewish people on those clothes. So they are, he saw it as holy garments. And it's interesting, when I moved here, you know, originally I'm from Canada. In Canada, got like 2% of the people are policemen and military, and 98% of the people are just sort of regular Joes. But here, it's more of a people's army. You know, the guy selling you the grocery stores is in the army, the druggist is in the army, the bus driver is in the army, the streetcar driver, the street cleaner. Everybody is, you know, does 2 weeks in the army every year. And they lead it's quite fascinating, because a lot of people lead these sort of double James Bond lives that you might think that God just looks like a tax consultant, but then, you know, once a year he joins some special unit, and he's like James Bond. Anyway, my brother coined it. He said it's like everyday heroes. So I wrote a song about it. Enough gabbing, and let's go to our first song, called Everyday Heroes, part of Theme Time Television this week. Everyday Heroes.
Everyday heroes, everyday heroes, giving their lives every day for one another. queen. Oh, what a people. And who can see? We need not fear. Let 5,000 flee and a handful return. But that handful equals the world. Can't you see the ocean open wide, crushing those who try to stand between the King of Kings and the one he loves? Everyday heroes, from where do they come? Where do they go? Oh, what a people. And who can see? We need not fear. Let 5,000 free and a handful return. But that handful equals the world. Can't you see the ocean open wide, crushing those who try to stand between the King of Kings and the one he loves?
Hope you enjoyed that song. That was sort of a loose live jam of that song. It's never really been recorded professionally, but anyway, as I was saying, another thing that's interesting about this week's Parsha is when the priest does this inauguration for a week. It's called Milawim. They offer this Milawim sacrifice, and this inauguration that happens for a week or 2 weeks. I think it's a week, yeah. Anyway, I asked somebody once in the synagogue, I said, Milawim, isn't that the same word as the soldiers, Milawim? Because here, you know, people go once a year to the army, it's called Milawim. He said, yeah, same word. So isn't that interesting? The, you know, initiation of the priesthood and this Milawim of the army, same word. And it's not so, if you think about it, you know, you think religion is one thing, right? Faith in God, and the army is the opposite. It's like, you know, we believe in strength of our fist and our weapons, and, you know, who needs God? It's just, you know, it has nothing to do with God. It has to do with being prepared and blah, blah, blah. But it's actually both. And in fact, it's interesting because when you are in a situation of life and death, you know, when you're, and I've spoken to many friends of mine who have been in situations like that where, you know, that's where actually faith comes into play. Even though you've got your weapons and you've got this and that, that's when you also have to trust that your mission is going to be successful, that you're going to, you know, there's faith in there as well. So in other words, life and death situations are connected to faith. And faith, the word for faith in Hebrew is emunah, which comes from omanut, which is art, interestingly enough. An artist works on something, and faith is something like that you work on, you build it. It doesn't just happen, it grows. And you need to be strong as well. Which leads me to my next song in Theme Time Television. A song I wrote years ago with Uncle Jony, who's now a big reggae star in Jamaica. Google Uncle Jony, you'll see him. Anyway, we wrote the song together years ago, and it's called Strong. You gotta be strong. Because the four winds will blow and they'll try and blow you down, but no one can bend the tree that's roots are buried deep in the ground. You gotta be strong. So check out the next clip.
To be strong, strong. You got to be strong, strong. You got to be strong, yeah. You got to be strong, yeah. Got to be strong. You got to be strong. Whoa, yeah. You got to be strong. You got to be strong. I'm gonna be strong.
We are here again with Theme Time Television, and this week's theme, the priests, the inauguration in the temple, the Kohanim. And some say that the temple is actually connected with what's going on today. Corona means crown, kingship, And some say that, look, Hashem brought us home, but we still have not brought him home. We haven't built him his house. And in fact, in the time of King David HaMelech, there was a plague, and he didn't know what to do, and he cried to God, and God said, build me a temple. So, couldn't hurt. Anyway, this next song is, well, I think it's probably a good time to do a song about the temple, so check this one out. We're back to Theme Time Radio. That last song, Bring Them Home, was recorded when my first trip to Israel years ago with Sister Levy. And I still say, bring the children home. You can call up the embassy and say, I want to go home. Train, plane, boat. Get over here. Now's the time. Egypt. We're leaving Egypt. I left 17 years ago just like that. You know, after September 11th, it hit me that all the airports were closed and I had no money. And I said, well, money or no money, it could happen that you can't get out. So I left with no money. I still don't have any money, but I feel like $1 million. And you know, you can survive from your house and your computer, as you can see. There's work that you can do via computers these days. So come home. This week, it's not only what we read about about the priests in the temple, but it's also the week of Passover. Liberation, freedom from slavery. And I'll tell you an interesting point about slavery. And this is something that the Gemara asks, the Talmud. And my brother asked me once, and stumped me on it, and I'm going to ask you. What do you think a slave dreams of? Ding. Yes? Freedom? Okay. Probably a lot of people said freedom. That indicates that you are free people. But the Talmud says, what does a real slave, what does he really dream of? And some people do dream of this. A slave dreams of being the master. He wants to be the guy. He wants to be the boss. He wants to give the orders. And believe me, I've had many bosses who I told them face to face, you think you're the boss, but you're a slave. You know, all this power trip, that's the quality of a slave, wanting to be the master, wanting to be the boss. A free person wants to be free and wants others to be free. I don't want to get off on a tangent about slavery, but it is a time that we were freed from slavery. And it's not only physical, it's mental slavery. And I hope that we can be freed of that mental slavery today. This week's Passover, Pesach, is very, very similar to the first one that ever happened. The Jews were not allowed, or the Israelites at that time, they were not allowed to leave their homes because the angel of death was all around. And they had to sit at home and do the Seder, and the next morning they left. Alavai, it should happen this year that, you know, everyone's in curfew and can't leave their home. That just like the first one, we should swiftly find ourselves in a new reality, in a better and a sweeter reality. But this night, in the Torah, it's called a night of anticipation. And they say that Hashem anticipates every year this time to redeem the Jewish people and the world. For it to be back in the right order, the way it was designed. But, you know, we have to go through our trips in order to do it. You know, like, you can't just give a kid candy. They've got to, you want to see that he actually matures and makes choices on his own. And hopefully we're evolving and getting to that point. So, Night of Anticipation. I wrote a song about it. And that's the next on the list on Theme Time Television. Night of Anticipation. Hope you enjoy it.
On the night that we were waiting, anticipating like a birth that cannot be delayed. What is promised, you will see, though it seems full of uncertainty. So we hear wailing through the night. First there was darkness, then there was a light. On the night that we were awaiting and anticipating, a night full of joy and dread, a mother weeping from her birthday bed. In heaven up above, delivering us with love. Though death walks through the night, first there was darkness, then there was light. On the night that we were waiting and anticipating, have you ever known a nation to be born from foreign lands from which they were torn? And every firstborn child has a debt from which he must give, for he remembers on that night those who died, so that he might live. On the night that we were waiting and anticipating, a mother in her labor pains. I've died so many times and been reborn again, but my people comfort me as I walk through my own raging sea. And though the end is near in the night, first there was darkness, then there was light. Although the end is near in the night, first there was darkness, and then there was light.
Well, that wraps it up for this week's show. I hope everybody stays safe, stays healthy, and that all of this will blow away soon and we'll have a big party afterwards. So tune in next week for another Theme Time TV show, and I'm going to just sign off with my usual sign off to someone that we've been hearing too much about. why'd you stay so long? Corona, Corona, why do you stay so long? When I wake up in the morning, baby, you better be gone. Corona, Corona, all you bring is misery. Corona, Corona, all you bring is misery. Better put everything back the way it used to be. I had a bird that did sing. I had a bird that did whistle. Had a bird that did sing. Now all I hear is Corona. Oh, get out and take all your things. Yeah, Corona, Corona, why did you stay so long? Corona, Corona, baby, why do you stay so long? When I wake up in the morning, oh, you better be gone, yeah. Corona, Corona, I don't want to even touch your hand. Corona, Corona, don't want to even touch your hand. My baby Karina's coming home now. Baby, you better scram. See you next week. Bye.